So what's interesting, I'm not sure digital leadership is precisely different from traditional leadership. It's more of an emphasis shift. Digital leaders don't need a title. They don't have a defined role created for them. They don't need to wait. Rather, they can act independently. What I mean by that is a digital leader can bring their insights into business, technology, and people and bring that to bear immediately. And let me give you just a little more specifics about that. A business leader, somebody who really understands what they do, how that contributes to their mission, brings a sense of urgency to that. We're really trying to achieve something phenomenal quickly. A technology leader, somebody who understands technology, what it does, how that can be applied to solve business problems. And a people leader is somebody who can influence and motivate people. None of those things come with a title. None of them need to have a role created. So a digital leader is simply somebody who unleashes their influence in those three areas simultaneously to achieve transformative outcomes using technology to change what we do. And that's not exactly different. It's a strong emphasis on action and a strong emphasis on anybody in the organization stepping up to be a leader. That's a great question. One of the real issues that I hear from my customers a lot is that their current operating model is what's holding them back. They're spending a lot of time and effort running what they already have. We are built to deliver some form of digital services today, but evolving those and transforming them into the style we need now is more of a cross-disciplinary function. We can't just sit in little silos anymore. So those structures, the way we're funded, the policies that guide and limit, those are things that digital leaders need to break beyond. And they work to, they take this as a challenge. They work not to circumvent, but rather to point a new way and then update the policy, update the structure, update the funding. Capacity and skills planning goes along with this, right? Having the right people with the right skills is a real challenge for government. I don't have an answer for that other than continually investing and focusing on that, understanding where you're taking your organization, what skills you're going to need, and to try and proactively hunt those out early on and bring those people into the fold. That's also part of digital leadership, is to plan for what comes next. Traditional government procurement, which tends to be focused in silos and tends to be built to acquire things, is a bit of a challenge here as well, because what we're describing here are solutions that don't fit into easy molds. We're not just buying a pencil or an eraser. In the technology landscape, we're not just buying a server or a network circuit or an application. We're trying to collect a number of technologies together, maybe integrate them in new ways that haven't been done before, and provide a new outcome. And that's not easy to quantify. So those are some of the inhibitors we hit, and the real digital leaders in government do find ways to mobilize their advocates and to move beyond some of those limitations. Well, Cisco does a lot of different things in this space to help business leaders, government leaders. First of all, there's Cisco's technology portfolio. Cisco produces network and computing infrastructure for the largest organizations on planet Earth. Something like 90% of the data that is sent across the internet touches or passes through something made by Cisco at some point in time. There's an immense amount of technology, but not just the technology. Cisco also produces the most inclusive collaboration platform in Cisco WebEx, and Cisco has an immense security portfolio, not just a firewall, not just a data loss prevention technology, but security that spreads right from the infrastructure all the way to the application, right into the code that the application is written in. That vast portfolio of security allows us to secure digital assets as they're built, bring all that to bear. Cisco provides some visibility into all that. Keeping that operating and running is really difficult. There's a lot of pieces. It's tough to know what they're doing all the time. So we have tools that allow people to see into that, gain some insight, make some decisions, and apply some policy and some governance to all of that. And that's what we do as a company. How do we then line up with organizations? Having that breadth of a portfolio, working with the largest organizations in the world, means we have tremendous experience to bring. When we're working with somebody in the public sector, you're not the first person in the public sector we've worked with. We have probably solved this problem or are trying to solve it somewhere else in the world. We can bring that experience to bear. By bringing our lessons learned, our large technology portfolio, we then walk alongside and we can meet where you're at, what are you trying to solve, and work together on that to add that capability to some of the existing Cisco solutions you probably already have. Now that's neat to talk about in concept, but maybe I could give you an example of how that works out. In Toronto, we are partnered with 5 different healthcare providers working on mental disabilities and adult aging. Those partners in Cisco came together. Those leaders in those organizations had a really defined business problem. They wanted to find ways to better support their patients or their customers, their residents. They wanted to do that with their families. And they wanted to enable their caregivers to give better care. And they're looking at how could technology do that. So this is a very cross-disciplinary problem. What we all came to be able to do together is to provide a platform-based solution with collaboration technologies to allow remote video visitation that had sensor technologies to tell which items in the apartment space had been used, which ones hadn't, and healthcare integration technologies to allow reminders, schedules, recipes, so forth to be presented all in a fairly non-disruptive way. So rather than somebody knocking on the door and barging in and have you taken your medicine today, it's a lot different. It's a call. Hey Dad, how's it going? I'm in Vancouver, you're in Toronto, but I wanted to check in on you today. Oh, I'm doing really well. Everything's going great. That's wonderful, Dad. I see the refrigerator hasn't been open today. Have you been cooking? Oh no, I didn't get around to that today. What can I do to help you, Dad? Could I contact your caregivers? Could we have a meal brought in for you? It's a vastly different approach to healthcare, something that we can help enable. That's not all just Cisco technology. Cisco's a part of it, but we partnered with the community, we partnered with the caregivers, we had to partner with a few other information technology service providers to do some of the integrations into their back-end health systems. Those are the kinds of things I mean when I talk about digital leadership. With a very wide portfolio that we have available, we do have some unique approaches we can take. The first one of them is that we do something a little different. We do technology pre-integration. What do I mean by that? Many people are familiar with the idea that you might buy something from company X, something from company Y, something from company Z, and connect them together in some way. Then you bear the responsibility of doing that integration and the support of maintaining and operating that. And it works, but it's really challenging to operate. Because we have a very wide range of technologies, we are able to do with our engineering teams pre-integration. So we're able to take our security technologies, integrate them with our network technologies, integrate those with our server technologies, integrate those with our collaboration technologies, all integrated with our visibility technologies. We can do that ahead of time so that your team doesn't have to have all those expertise on staff at a very high level. You can benefit from that to the extent that you want. If you do have experts in some of those areas and want to roll your own, so to speak, develop your own solution, we can integrate that in. So you can take advantage of our pre-integrated solutions where they make sense. You can add your own where you are the expert. That's one way we deal with this. The second thing we try and do is we really try and take a life cycle approach. We try and understand where you're at, what your capabilities are. We do this along with our partners. We walk alongside. We try to assess your organization's ability to deliver and our organization's ability to provide the technologies you need. And we will partner with other technology providers and other service providers in order to meet you where you're at. So in some ways, it's a little bit of both. You asked, how do we customize, or is it one approach for everyone? It's one pre-integrated approach that we then slice up and customize to make it fit. Which pieces of pre-integrated technology do you need to cover off gaps, and which pieces are a better fit for you to build yourself in your own way, for us to work with you on that. The time frame can be quite variable depending on what you're trying to achieve. When you're taking a Cisco cloud software solution, a good example might be Cisco WebEx, and you want to have meetings, or maybe you want to run an event. That can actually be quite fast. You can obtain the license, you can then train yourself and your staff in a couple hours or days, and you can begin to execute almost immediately on it. Where the challenge becomes is when you want to take a piece of software like that and you want to extend it much further. You want to train hundreds or thousands of people in using it perfectly each time. And when that solution has a hardware aspect to it, something needs to be ordered and installed and connected, that can take a little bit of time. And finally, when you factor in what does the client experience need to be, it can take a little bit of time to build a good client experience. If we roll back to the autonomous living project we were talking about, that experience is in the range of 2 to 3 years to achieve an outcome. You would find us talking about it in the press early in 2021, maybe late 2020, as the idea is formed. It then launched formally here in, I believe it was February of 2023. So it can take a couple of years, but what were we doing? We were using an established software platform where we are then retrofitting apartments. We're then putting sensors into them, and we were custom deploying some software integrations to allow different menu items, different tasks and reminders to pop up on a screen in an apartment. And we have to run that through some testing. We have to run it past a few people to see what works and what doesn't. I mean, after all, this is meant to impact residents in a positive way. We have to try a few things, and a few fail. Then we try it again, we revise a few times. So actually getting something up and running isn't awfully hard. Getting it running really well can take a little bit of time. Having said all that, maintaining a sense of urgency, not letting it become a 10-year project or a 20-year project, is really critical because technology innovation cycle is so fast. At Cisco, we are developing a new hardware chip about every 18 months. That means that the capabilities of our hardware evolves about every 18 months, and software moves even faster than that. So we know that when we're taking years to develop something, it's already going to be out of date to a certain extent. So we always try and step on the gas and achieve things as quickly as possible so that we can take maximum advantage of the technology before it's moved on to something else. It's important for us to attend events like this because we believe, when working with the public sector especially, we believe the partnership requires us to share and understand experiences. By sharing, I don't mean speaking necessarily. We do speak at these events, but we listen. We try and do both. We try and share what we've learned that works and what doesn't work. We try and listen to what's working for others and what problems are there. So we come to this event to share and to share stories. I've shared some stories with you today. We're going to try and share some more throughout the day. We think storytelling is an integral part of how people understand and how we understand problems and tackle them together. So we come to share, to tell stories, to listen to our government colleagues, listen to their stories, and hopefully to walk away from this with some sparks of insight and a little bit of incentive to innovate. So if we walk out of here with a few new ideas of things we can do to partner with government, and if some of our colleagues in government walk away with a few new ideas how they could partner with us, that's a real win for all of us. That's why we're here.